Okay, it was the fist bump seen around the world. President Biden and the Saudi Crown Prince sharing a Power Five in Jeddah that was just today. Last month, the president saying he would not meet with the Crown Prince, who American authorities say ordered the killing of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi back in 2018. But amid skyrocketing gas prices, he not only met with him, but he traveled to Saudi Arabia to do it. And as the fists collided, President Biden colliding yet again with fellow Democrat Joe Manchin, derailing his agenda heading into the midterms. The centrist West Virginia senator refusing to sign on to the president's climate plan. All of this unfolded while he was in Saudi Arabia. This is nearly half of Americans give Biden a D or F for bipartisanship in a new poll that is just out. Julia Manchester, national political reporter for The Hill, joins us now. Julia, let's get to this fist bump. I mean, this has sort of become the headline today. What do you make of it?
It's become the headline, and it's what the Saudi Arabians really wanted to be the headline. That image was released by Saudi Arabian media, and we saw that the U.S. media picked up on it, meaning that the Saudis wanted this to be seen by Americans. This was carefully orchestrated on their part. Now, I think it's fair to say that President Biden is not the only world leader or American president who has been friendly with Mohammed bin Salman or other Saudi Arabian leaders. We know that the Trump administration, for example, President Trump, his son-in-law Jared Kushner, had a notoriously close relationship with the Saudis, and this goes back multiple presidencies. But I think this really shows an about-face for the president, who was so adamant about pushing back on Saudi Arabia's human rights abuses and the murder of a Washington Post journalist, Jamal Khashoggi. So obviously not a great look for the administration. But as you say, Brian, the president walking a very fine line, trying to balance those concerns as well as rising gas prices and the need for more oil production.
And one thing I thought about, Julia, is, you know, back in the day when it was acceptable to shake hands, that's what people in that situation did. So perhaps, you know, he was just doing the fist bump because that's sort of become the mainstream thing to do. But still, obviously, that photo, not the image they were hoping to portray. Let me read you the Washington Post response to all this, and it was pretty intense. They wrote, "The fist bump between President Biden and Mohammed bin Salman was worse than a handshake. It was shameful. It projected a level of intimacy and comfort that delivers to MBS the unwarranted redemption he has been desperately seeking." That was Fred Ryan, Washington Post publisher and CEO. After all of this went down, Julia, the president had a press conference there in Saudi Arabia. He talked about the meeting and the fact that he says he brought up Khashoggi. Let's listen to what he said at that press conference.
I said very straightforwardly, for an American president to be silent on an issue of human rights, is this inconsistent with who we are and who I am. I'll always stand up for our values.
Okay, so what was interesting is during this meeting, you saw them at the big table, but there was no microphones. You couldn't really hear what was going on. Do you think what he said there, you know, is going to satisfy people that he really got serious about the subject?
Well, it's certainly not going to satisfy, you know, those who are upset about that image. And that's a lot of people, including Jamal Khashoggi's wife and family, as well as the Washington Post. Look, you know, if it were, we can talk about whether it was a handshake or a fist bump and what Biden meant by it. You know, assuming he did not mean for this to come off as the two were bromancy, but it looks like a bromance. It looks extremely friendly. You know, normally you see these handshakes and it's much more formal, but this looks informal, friendly, and this is obviously a very serious time. Not only when it comes to oil prices and the U.S. wanting Saudi Arabia to produce more oil, but also because of these human rights abuses. But you know, I think we have to take into consideration this is a fine line. American presidents have had to walk with the Saudis for years now. I mean, going back to 9/11, given their role in those attacks, and of course the human rights issues the U.S. has with Saudi Arabia. I mean, there's a lot of baggage there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because this isn't just President Biden. So many of the presidents do the same thing. They complain about Saudi Arabia, but then they go there and then you see the handshake. Okay, let's move on to Senator Joe Manchin, the other Joe, who, interestingly, while this was all happening in Saudi Arabia, derailed Biden's climate agenda, calling this is going to be an issue. I want to show you this graphic that the producers made here, calling it Manchin's kill strike. This is everything that he's killed so far. Obviously, not very good for Biden. 3.5 trillion build back better, 1.75 trillion relaxing filibuster for voting rights, codifying Roe versus Wade, and climate initiatives. I thought that was a very creative graphic, by the way. What do you think, Julie? I mean, this has got to have Biden livid tonight.
It does, and that is quite the graphic, if I do say so myself. But, yes, it has Biden livid, and I think part of that has to do, or a big part of that has to do with the fact that we are in a midterm election year, and President Biden does not have a ton of major achievements to really show. Of course, he's been touting that bipartisan gun safety legislation he signed this week, and of course, the bipartisan infrastructure bill from last year, and the American Rescue Plan. But, especially the last two initiatives I brought up, those were last year. And we know that, despite the fact that Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the White House, Biden doesn't have much to show for that control, even as inflation is rising and Americans are complaining about the economy. I think Democrats were hoping for a win here, something to say they were trying to alleviate the issues. But Joe Manchin obviously sweeping and killing that. He's arguing that a lot of these initiatives would be bad for the issue of inflation, for example. And of course, we know that he comes from West Virginia. He represents a state that's heavily invested in coal. This would be obviously these climate provisions more renewable energy friendly. So that creates a conflict of interest for him.
I will say, though, I thought today for a second in terms of a distraction, we weren't talking about inflation today or the economy with the fist bump. It did sort of distract from all of that. So, that's one sort of way to look at it. Julia Manchester, thanks for coming on. Never a dull moment in Washington where you are. Have a good weekend. We appreciate it.